Dear students, I am Dr. Surendra Singh, the Faculty of Sociology. Today, we'll break up the syllabus and we'll try to know that how sociology as an optional has to be approached. And what are the ways to write the quotient so that certain numbers could be increased and you may be able to realize your dream. When we're looking at the sociology syllabus particularly, it comprises of the two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. In a paper 1, there are 10 units, and in paper 2, there are 3 segments, segment A, segment B, and segment C. One by one, we'll try to break up the syllabus and try to see that how we'll have to approach sociology as an optional. The first paper I said that it comprises of the 10 units. What we need to do, that we will be breaking this one into 3 parts. There is a part A, part B, and a part C. Part A would comprise unit 1, 2, and 3. What we'll have to do, that like a layman, we'll have to first understand the unit 1, 2, and 3. And then once we have developed a certain understanding, we'll have to combine them, we'll have to club them. For example, unit 1 begins with sociology as a discipline. If you look at the syllabus, it talks about how sociology has emerged. That has to be viewed within the light of modernity in Europe. Thus, what we first have to do, that we'll have to understand modernity in terms of how it has been viewed, and what are the components. When we look at how it has been viewed, it could be an idea, as an experience, and as a society. The certain features will come out here, and from here we'll look at the components like Enlightenment, Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, the voyages, discoveries. And once we have understood this one, we'll be looking at what are the consequent changes. That transition from pre-modern to modern. And once we have looked at the consequent changes, then we'll have to place that in what circumstances sociology as a discipline emerged. Once we have lived here, then we would also be knowing about the certain perspectives. As we all know that every subject will bring about certain perspective within it, and once these perspectives are known, it would also be helping us to differentiate, to compare the relation of sociology with other disciplines like psychology, anthropology, history, political science, economics, and so on. And from here, it will also be helping us to understand that how sociology and a common science, that relationship has to be viewed. In a nutshell, in a one sentence, if I say, what separates sociology from a common sense is the scientific nature of the discipline. And once we know that the scientific nature, then we will be coming to unit 2, that is sociology as a science. And once we come sociology as a science, then we will be talking about the debate of methodology in terms of Wales and Mead, Then we will come into positivism, a scientific method of inquiry, and its critic. This would also involve the fact and value dichotomy. Thus, the moment we have moved from the unit 1 to the unit 2, there are 5 segments in unit 2. What we'll have to do, that rather than looking at the segments in separation, we have to understand the entire segments from A to E in a holistic manner, and then the debate will be going on. Once the debate has come out in terms of positivism versus anti-positivism, there are many questions. Sometimes they ask you like nomothetic, ideographic, and you sometimes is perplexed that from where this question has come out. This all would be coming from here, and within this perspective we will also be knowing about the debate between quantitative and a qualitative. The moment we have reached to the debate between quantitative and qualitative, your unit 3 begins. That is all about methodology. Thus, once again I begin that we are looking at the part A in terms of unit 1, 2 and 3. What we'll have to do, that once we have known them separately, we will combine them together, and once we have combined them, this unit 1 and 2 and 3 would be one unit which would be keeping in a part A. The part B is the most important aspect of sociology. I call it heart and soul of sociology, since it is all about sociological thinkers. There are 6 thinkers, starting from Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim, Max Weber, Talcott Parsons, Robert King Martin and George Herbert Mead. What we'll have to do, that you might be reading certain novels, and every novel there are certain protagonists. So you approach it like a layman, and once you have read them, without looking at what syllabus has comprised of, what syllabus is all about, just try to know these thinkers, and once you have known them, then be focused into the syllabus. This would provide you the segment wise analysis. For example, methodology, theme, concepts, and in this perspective, these all 6 thinkers are to be approached. Once you have known them, then try to look at the comparative analysis between all these 6. Once you have done so, the comparative analysis, it will also be helping you in unit 1, 2, that is sociology is a science. For example, just I said that the debate is all about positivism and anti-positivism. Here if I say that Emile Durkheim is a positivist, then Karl Marx is a critic to positivism, Max Weber will initiate an anti-positivist stand in sociology, and in this very perspective, we will have to understand that. Similarly, when we come to the G.H. Mead, the symbolic interactionist, we will be finding about the micro-sociology that would also be a critic to the positivism. Thus, what we need to do, that once we have known them in a very well manner, we will try to put these segments into all the units from here to there, and then the most important aspect is the relevance. Don't try to be a critic by reading 1 line, 2 line or 1 paragraph. What you need to do, read them holistically in a one go, and then you are basically in 21st century. The thinkers are the past of yours. The situations, the conditions, the social structure, organizations that has witnessed a change, that has to be brought here, and within this perspective, the relevance of these thinkers has to be understood. And once you have known the relevance, most of the questions which sometimes is being called off a bit, that would be understood. At the same time, the certain questions, like if I recall the certain questions which are asked earlier in terms of cybernetic hierarchy of control, that is basically from Talcott Parsons. Once you look at the Talcott Parsons syllabus, you will be finding about AGE, and within which the cybernetic hierarchy of control and the concept of steering media that would be coming out. So this question is from there. Similarly, in the same year, they had asked one question that was on serendipity. It is very painful till date. This question has almost been asked 5 years back, but the moment you start looking at this question, it has been written in Sociology as a Science Unit 2. But this question is basically from R.K. Martin. Martin has co-edited a book rather with the Barbara Eleanor in terms of travels and adventures in serendipity, and this question has come from there. So once you have known them in breakup, you have opened up all the dimensions. This kind of questions which you are still struggling to find out, they all will be finding their own place. And once we have known them, the thinkers, these ideas will begin from the part C, that is social institutions, and that will begin in terms of unit 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Unit 5 is social stratification, and if you look at all these units 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what you find? Everywhere that begins with the sociological theories of stratification. For example, in stratification is written structural functionalism, Parsons will come out over there. Karl Marxian theory, which you have gone through here. Weberian perspective, you have gone through here. Similarly, in terms of economy, the different stages of economic social life, you will be finding about the Marxian theory, Weberian, Karl Marx, political theories or the theories of power. Similarly, these all units, thinkers, would be the first perspective of us to understand these theories. And once we have used them, then whenever new perspective or dimension comes out, only then we will be using new scholars. In the last 15 years, it has always been asked to me that, sir, sociology is all about, there are so many scholars, there are so many concepts. Yes, I do agree that there are concepts, there are thinkers. What we'll have to do, that once we have known the thinkers, we will be using the thinkers whenever they found the relevance. Otherwise, you would not be knowing them. So our first focus would be in the unit, this is part B, and once we have known them, in a segmental perspective, we will be using them to the different units which has been scattered in your syllabus, and thus once we have known how to use them, then we will be going for the newer scholars, and this way it will be more easier, it will be easier to formulate a very scientific answers, and that will fetch you more marks, and in that very perspective sociology has to be understood. At the same time, when you look at the paper 1, and when I said part C, that is all about the social institutions. Similarly, in a second paper, these all scholars are to be used. For example, if I look at the paper 2, it begins with structural functionalism, which you have gone through in terms of either Durkheim or in Talcott Parsons or in Martin. There is Marxism, there is Indology. So the theoretical part wherever required from here, that has to be brought to the paper 2. And once you have known that one, you have the certain names, Indian scholars written over there, and then you will have to understand that how they have used these models, theoretical models, in the understanding of the Indian society. And similarly, once you read it, social stratification, one form of the social stratification in India would basically be the caste system. This is part B, unit 2. This economy, the industrial perspective, the urbanization in India, religion would be there, religion is there in India, part B. The kinship is there in a part B. Social change is there, that begins with the part C. What I am trying to say basically, that once these units are there, you do not bifurcate paper 1 and paper 2 in a separate perspective. Wherever there could be club, wherever the conceptual perspective has to be used, that has to be understood. So there is no separation from the paper 1 to paper 2. Once we have known the concepts in a paper 1, These concepts are basically to be used in a paper 2, and in that very perspective this approach has to be understood, and from there we will be going to the paper 2. If I am looking at sociology paper 2, this is all about Indian society. Like the first paper, we will also be dividing that in 3 parts, that is part A, part B and a part C. Part A is all about the development of Indian sociology and application of theoretical models. This I had already said that we will be first taking it from here, from the first paper, and then we will be trying to know the Indian context. In a part B is all about the Indian social structure, within which rural society or rural agrarian society, caste system, tribes in India, social classes in India, system of kinship, and the last one is religion in India. Once again I am saying that when we are looking at, this is the one which has not been done in a paper 1. But the moment we look at the social stratification in 5 paper 1, it has to be linked here. The social classes which we have done, certain theoretical models has already been known. Unit 9 of the paper 1 was there in terms of system of kinship, and religion was there in unit 8. So once you have started doing the first paper, we will be bringing this together of the second paper in first paper, and then we will try to compare that where they have differed, what are the similarities. And at the same time, you need to remember that the part C, which is all about the change and transformation, and also challenges before Indian society. If you look at the syllabus, from the caste system you will be finding about in a part C, there are certain portions like Dalit movement, the backward caste movements, that is in a part C. You will also be finding about the challenges like caste conflict, everything that is related to these units which seems to be scattered here and there, they are to be brought together, but not forgetting that from where it has been picked up and what their content is all about. And in this perspective, the syllabus will seems to be a bit shorter rather than that bigger. For example, if you are looking at the rural society, once you have known the conceptual domain here, the village, the peasant, the land tenure systems, the moment you come to the part C, unit 2, what you find, the transformation of the rural society or agrarian society has been there, like the green revolution, the changing modes of agriculture, these all are there. When you look at the part C, unit 5 movement, particularly find about the peasant and the farmer movements. These scattered things which are there, they all are to be brought here. And in this very perspective, that interrelationship from the theoretical conceptual model to their application in the social structure and what perspective of changes that is coming out and what challenges it is posing to the Indian society, that has to be understood. I always say that second paper works like a mathematics. What we need to do, that you need to understand that these are all the questions which are there and the contents which are there in a second paper. They may collide with, they may overlap with your GS paper. What we need to do, that rather than answering them in GS pattern or essay pattern, you will have to bring the sociological perspective in all your answers, and that would be key to fetching marks. Every perspective or every question has also to be talked about with the empirical examples. Whenever it is required to bring about the theoretical models or the conceptual models, that has to be understood. In a nutshell, if I say, once you have done the first paper is all about the conceptual, theoretical model, your knowledge with the perspectives in sociology. In a second paper, that has to be applied. One is say, many times it is said the second paper is applied paper. Most of the social sciences second paper is applied paper. What do you mean by the applied paper? The same thing which you have gone through the first paper in terms of the concepts, models, the perspectives, they are basically to be utilized here, and in that very perspective, the application of the first paper and second paper, that has to be combined. In the last few years, you also have seen that they are not asking the question separately. Sometimes they are also asking the Indian society in a paper 1 and also the certain perspective of the paper 1 in a paper 2. That with this combination, that has to be understood. The complete wedding between the theoretical conceptual models and its applicability to the Indian society, that has to be understood by us. Hence, rather than going by the units in a paper 2, only there is one unit, that is Indian society. It has the 3 facets, that is the requirement of syllabus, to understand how the sociology has developed, what are the theoretical models that have come out, the basic conceptual clarity of the social structures and the changes in the social structures, and in this process of change, what kind of challenges that have emerged before the Indian society, and in that way you will have to approach the entire sociology, which through this would basically not be a cause of recognition. It will be fetching you the desired marks, and in that very perspective you would be able to realize your dream.